It's Sunday, it's May 14th, it's 2023. Um, I went to church this morning with Anthony. I put up a video. Um, it's Mother's Day. So he made me a card on butterfly upcycled materials from a field or day trip. I call it field trip, but for his school, they call it a day trip. Um, he made it with a VIP hat and sunglasses for me. And when I open it, it has flowers, and he tells me that I'm a very important person. These are his words. He surprised me with it this morning. Not three letters I ever really speak with him, except as it for the local area. If we're going to get pizza, that's the name of the pizzeria. But this is how he visualized it, and he put it into words for me this morning on Mother's Day. Um, I brought it to church. Um, Not in a boastful way, not in a prideful way, but in a way of this child needs some reinforcements of the correct behavior and some positive adult reinforcement, since I don't really have any, other than myself to lean on. I find that the Zion community is extremely helpful with at least giving him an adult witness to the incredibly beautiful, innocent person that he is and how he was born. Um, and just the most heartfelt things that he does, touching things that he does. But I mean, again, not in this repetitious, like it happens all the time, but like when it does happen, I mean, again, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. So, um, anyhow, so I was reading through here at one point on the Shadow Project, trying to figure out what the intelligence level of 2010 was. Um, Perhaps since it hit the New York Times bestseller list, and I did not know to look for it. Um, and then thinking why books are so relevant. The American English, they call it library. In the European English, or Anglais, they say bibliothèque. And it's the first couple of words of Bible. So I'm like, hmm. So I'm reading this, and in it, it mentions something about the, and I have to go back through it because I read it up to a certain page and I was in it for the moment, but then it's almost like reading with a colander or a sieve. Um, it's reading with a purpose. And when I got to the point where it's saying, um, it said that this person, this elusive person, hated the Americans and the British, and I'm like, no, who is this person? And now I have to try to go back. They mentioned in the beginning that there's a Nicolas Cage, I guess just to preface it. And then there is, later on, they speak of a wicker cage. Then they talk about things I've never heard of. But again, if this came out in 2010, somebody in the book club community that I was not a part of might have started researching or had access to a conversation around something called a Faraday cage. I'd never heard of that either. Um, I don't even know in the project level that I'm whatever in. I don't even know if it'll make it to next week in my consciousness because of how things are spliced. But for the moment, I'm reading about Faraday cage, but I don't really have any tangible experience necessarily. Um, it also mentions something talking about different bodies and an energy body in this very abstract sense, which I'm following along easily. But I'm trying to construct the reality and stay within the frame of construct that they're building for this one conversation that they call the Shadow Project. Um, to stay within the word construct of this consciousness. Um, Almost making this a theoretical framework of a type of bibliothèque or bibliography or like whatever, just so then I can try to maintain some level of consciousness for any future conversations I might need to lean on or refer back to or reference back to. Just so this way it stays away from the whole quote unquote professionals, which are only humans, and for which I mean, they have a field of study. I don't really want them studying me. I don't even want them commenting on me. I really don't care for their opinions, nor their judgments. They are completely irrelevant in my field of study. Um, so there's that, which angers some. I don't really care. Um, and let's see, what else do we have in here? Again, especially when there are people stealing from, I mean, again, if time is money and people are stealing from the state and the church, that really does break it down to how did Moses and his staff part the Red Sea, or the Sea of Reeds is what they mentioned today. Um, and I don't, that's a rhetorical, because again, it's whatever in the whatever, but here we are. Um, so this Faraday cage was very interesting. There's something about somebody hates these, and I'm trying to figure that out, these British and the Americans. It would be really helpful if the humans actually contributed. Um, I also saw they put on television, on the TV schedule, they put on something called Fiddler on the Roof, which takes place in Tsarist Russia. Um, so I got a visual construct. I mean, I've heard it spoken about. I heard the vocabulary word from the old country, yenta. I didn't know which old country it was relatable to. Now I have a construct in New York that how they built that consciousness. Seems only relatable here, but whatever on that. Um, the Crazy Rich Asian movie yesterday mentions this thing. The character is Chinese, and she said, no, the Chinese elsewhere is different than the American. Like, you're used to the American, like, you might speak it and you might think that your face looks like it, but you are not whatever they are elsewhere. That, and I'm like, right, got that. So that's kind of sitting and floating in the back of my consciousness. Um, so I watched this Fiddler on the Roof thing, and I was just like, okay, so now I've digested that bit of From Afar. Um, I haven't gotten all the way through it. Again, these movies, there's so many of them. Um, oh, and Lewis started walking, importantly enough. They were going through some of the more important stories that I really didn't read or get like full construct on growing up Red Cross. So with the X, so I'm Lewis is now walking with David again, which is important to my purpose, based on what uh, my son 2012 and I were sitting in the women's gilded room. It seems important in a story that she brought up today. Just my son has more time in this field of science after me, so it seems that he would be the one that needs that, um, to know that. Um, and it also says in the Shadow Project that it's really hard to separate the Nan. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen the New York news and what this Nan national network looks like and who's at the head of that helm. And I'm like, that's understandable. Um, so, especially with the numbers, I'm just kind of keeping it far away without paperwork, kind of a from a glance, from a distance. Um, so, these are the important facts that I discovered today, and just keeping a level of local, I guess it's urban, like an urban update, I suppose, since I don't really live in this level of consciousness, but there are things that I need to know, like the fact that some of the problems I've been having may have something to do with this Faraday cage, and that's like a whole level of education that they've come out with all this radio transmitter equipment, like cell phones, like radios, handheld radios, and things. And yet they've never taught that level of science and vocabulary or vocation to my person, even though they're selling the products in here. So it's not like I even have a full understanding of the market before I'm making these purchases. Um, and I'm realizing I'm not the only ones. But I don't even know for sure if my sons are getting the level of education that they need based on the level of radio equipment and transmitters and things, um, in order to keep the energy body, um, knowledge that they may need within their life frame. More things that are not, I mean, I've been accurately cataloging and documenting the level, the range of vocabulary, where I pick it up, where as I'm going through brand new concepts to me in the year 2023. These things existed before I discovered them in 2023, but they're not filtering the information to me, even though, like, in all of the rooms I've been kept within. But yet they're sharing that knowledge with other groups, with other societies, with all sorts of things. Um, and of course, for me, I'm a cosmological constant. So the fact that my life frame has been stolen from me all the time that the humans use to build their world and reality, and all these breakout features were created while my time was being stolen from me. And my children who are here while their time was being stolen from them and me once they arrived. So there's some big problems going on, and I don't know at what level it needs to be reported, but it's got specific time and space and consequences, and I don't really know how to um, address it or where to address it, quite frankly. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. But where it is most relevant with my time being stolen and manipulated while I'm being held in New York is the fact that there is a gaming commission and that runs operating funds at state and federal level. And the fact that they're holding me in some disingenuous relationship while they know I'm the delivering woman of this special clock system for which they have stolen that process and are funding certain projects and almost rigging it in a certain position for which I'm not benefiting from, nor are my children, but I'm being held in a reality that is very far from the one that I deserve and that I want to be in, um, and has also caused life altering consequences. Um, while they're pursuing these things. And I don't have control over the position that I should be in. And I don't know how to get there.